am a conservationist, in particular a scientist in conservation. Then I decided to give you an example of what we are doing, just what happened after the excavation. When you find some artifact, some object, and you move the object from the soil after the excavation, it starts another step that is very important. How to have care of the object, how to solve the problem of the alteration when the object came in contact with the air. If it's a metal object, we can have a problem with the corrosion. And also we should in some way fix this object and maybe store it or put it on display in a museum. There are so many different steps that we have to consider. And before to arrive to this last step, that is the display in the museum, it's necessary to take note of all the information related to this artifact. And then I would now just show an example of condition recording for movable cultural heritage. A condition, what is a condition recording? I will say just briefly. Of course, you know that organizations are responsible for the conservation of tangible cultural heritage and are required to maintain a record of its condition. It is important when you find an object to have a record, to write information, to collect information for the future. And a condition record is an essential tool in the management of a tangible cultural heritage. Condition reports are part of the documentation of cultural heritage object and the collection, in which their state and their status are recorded. It's important to have a record and to have all the information on the condition of the object when it was taken from the excavation. The main content of a condition report, just here, just as a summary, is necessary to report information about the object identification, the description of the object, the environment where the object was, the condition at the moment that it was excavated, and also information about diagnosis and conclusions if you also start some investigation on the material and on the level of decay of this object. But we, during this presentation, we focus on two main aspects. One is the object description, that is important, and as the other, and the other is the condition description. Of course, the first step is to take note of all the information, the identity card of the object, the identification number, like the number of inventory and so on. If the object is protected, and normally an object from an excavation belongs to the government, then it's protected. The date of acquisition, if there is an author, and the origin, the civilization, these are all information that the archaeologist, of course, is the first thing that they think about when they do an excavation. But also it's necessary to do an object description, like the nature of the object, including which kind of a material is done, or more material together, the structure, the surface, the history, the technique, and the dimension. To collect and record this object description, there are just to simplify, there are two main steps necessary. The first is the inspection and the assessment. You take the object, you look it, you take note of the shape, the material, what I was saying before. And then another important step is the acquisition of a photographic or any visual record, including digital images. This is an example of the use of a 3D laser scanner. And this is the example that I'm going to show you now. About the condition description, again, it's important. There is a traditional way to take note of all the aspects observed, measured, tested. There are different possibilities to take note of these aspects. But the content of the condition report should provide not only technical data, but also knowledge and understanding about the object of the or collection, information produced by monitoring its change over time, and information that will assist with the future planning. Then this document should be the base for everything. First you fix the condition at the time you find the object, and then also you collect the information during the activity of investigation on the object, and of course everything is related to the site of excavation. And you can only then you can plan for future intervention, like intervention to fix the object and to store it or to put it in a museum. The example I have are two. One is related to a lion of famous, is a model prepared from a famous sculpture, Gian Lorenzo Bellini, this art from the 17th century. And that is the model of a lion that is part of the fountain of Piazza Navona in Roma. And another, to be more close to your interest as archaeologists, is this rhino that is shown here of in between 3rd and 2nd century before Christ. The example show a combination of 3 layers of data records linked each other. There is a 3D model of the object done with a 3D laser scanner used. There is the acquisition of high-definition photographic documentation, and there are the projection of the picture on the 3D model. And this is, now I show you the program that is. This is the acquisition of the object, and with this acquisition with the laser scanner 3D, we can see the object from any part of, we can move it, because this is taken with a series of scanning with the laser, and we have also the acquisition of all the metric data of this object. This is a model. If we magnify this lion, we can see the triangle, the single point that they refer to a specific point in the space. Then each part of this model is a measure. But also we can use this model to, for example, to record the presence of some alteration, like you can, it's not very visible here, like this is broken, like here, and this is a way to document the object, the condition of the object. You see that I'm opening and putting in evidence. This is a part that was missed part and restored with other material and covered and painted to have the same color. And all these things can be seen part of the object. Now it's difficult here to move it anyway. For whoever of you that is interested is here. And then we can have more and more information. That is the result, like the presence of patina. That is the result of the observation of the restorer, the conservator, and is the way to record this information on the real model, on the virtual model. The last thing that is possible to do with this. Take notes of all the things that are being done. It's like an information system where you can identify the area where there were some patina, there where you did take some sample to do some analysis, and all things are collected here. This is like an information system that is related to the real area where you are looking and referring about this aspect. Then I go back to the presentation. Just briefly, this is what you have seen. And now I show the link with the other object that is a Rhiton that I was speaking before. And this object belongs to the collection of the Oriental Art Museum of Rome. This is here. I avoid to open again the program to show you the three-dimensional object because it's difficult, but this is the same process. You have the object as it is, and then you can see the same with the UV light to see some presence of some aspect that is not visible with the normal light. And here we have these areas are related to the presence of patinas on the surface. While you can see also here in another position some loss of material, like here, some presence of concretion because still they are on the surface, and this is done in the same way that I showed you with the lion. And at the end also the label with the information about the single point where some investigation was done. And this is the net of points of at big magnification that show you that each point of the surface of this object is have a metric reference. And with this 3D scanner laser, it's possible to have this model, a mathematical model, but also you can have a virtual model. And this can be useful to have a copy of the object, as in this case, in case of the lion, without to touch the object, without to put nothing, without to do a mold. It's enough the data you have in the computer. You can transfer this data to a modern printer that is a 3D printer that is printing not with ink but with polymeric material. And drop by drop is able to reconstruct the object. like in this case. Of course, in this case, the object is big enough, and then you see here, different pieces were done, and then put together to have the final copy of the original.